Did you know that with every bite you take of some certain food items, you're putting yourself at an increased risk for cancer? We talk with Emily Ho about the message she is trying to get across to OSU students.
Then, the last home and Civil War football games are approaching us. We talk with one important football player who explains to us why these upcoming games are really important to him.
And finally, how do you find news related to events happening on campus? We ask some OSU students this question tonight on our segment of Questions in the Quad. We will have all that and more for you tonight on the Beaver News. Good evening and welcome to your final edition of Beaver News for the fall term. I'm Nathan Hellman.
And I'm Emily Mowry. We're glad you could join us this evening.
Did you know that eating can be just as dangerous as smoking? Today, members of OSU's Staff and Faculty Club Triad met in the MU to learn how. Emily Ho of the Linus Pauling Institute led a discussion that focused on her research into the relationships between diet, the immune system, and cancer. Ho claims that one reason for the disproportionately high rate of prostate cancer in America is that most diets lack in foods like soy, tea, and cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli and cauliflower. Some of the information was particularly timely with Thanksgiving just next week. Ho said that meats cooked at extremely high temperatures are known to contain carcinogens. However, she did state that moderation remains an effective defense strategy. The talk lasted over an hour and began with a nutritious lunch catered by OSU. The discussion was well attended and elicited numerous questions from the large and engaged audience.
Despite the Civil War football game being over a week away, OSU and U of O are still at war. This week marks the 5th annual Energy Civil War at OSU. During this week, Dixon Rec is asking students to sign up to use the elliptical machines in a competition with the Ducks over energy generation. Starting as a way to get students thinking about energy regeneration, the competition was sponsored by the Student Sustainability Initiative, a campus organization started in 2003 to promote recycling and waste reduction at OSU. Colette Conover, an energy production coordinator for SSI, said, "It started off as just a cool thing to teach students about the renewable energy happening at Dixon. Each elliptical re-rev machine can, in about 30 minutes, generate enough power to run a laptop for 2 hours. The Ducks have beaten the Beavs every year and to date, and currently they are still ahead. As of 14 hours ago, the Ducks were leading OSU by about 2,500 watt-hours. The Energy Civil War runs through tomorrow."
Want to know more about how to improve your sex life? Last night at the Beanery, Dr. Kathy Greaves, aka Dr. Sex, and Melinda Shell, or as she goes by, the Sex Chick, held Sexy Talk, a discussion on everything you wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask. Last night's discussion included a panel of 4 sexperts who came together to give their thoughts, opinions, and anecdotes on how to keep you and your partner safe in the sack. At the event, the two talked about everything from glow-in-the-dark condoms to the proper use of blueberry-scented dental dams. This talk is the first in a new series designed to bring sex education to the public. Dr. Sex and the Sex Chick are planning on hosting at least one Sexy Talk per term.
I would deliver condoms for students on campus and some student athletes or whatever, and they would make special requests to me, and I would send them through campus mail because I didn't really feel like going around to deliver all these myself. So I got the name Special Delivery for a while. So I would kind of do that for a while, and as we were doing this Condom Hotspot program, we would get folks who would ask us questions about which of our hotspots were a little bit more anonymous, because I don't know if you noticed, but the one in the library, not only is it right out in the middle of plain view, but there's also a video surveillance camera over that one as well. So some of those places aren't as anonymous as some students would like them to be, and so we would get questions about, which ones were more anonymous. So I would let them know which ones were in the bathrooms at different places. So several of the cultural centers, as well as the Women's Center, have their condom hotspots in the restrooms. So those are a little more anonymous, so you can get them that way. But then there's, still studies out there that show that embarrassment is a huge factor to stop people from getting condoms.
To get the community amped up for the last home football game, the Oregon State University Marching Band is doing their part. On Friday nights before each home football game, the band puts together a small pep band to travel to various locations throughout Corvallis. The small group, named Bar Band, piles onto the back of a pickup truck and travels to such locations as the Country Club, Greek Row, and downtown bars. The band runs into the venue, plays the fight song, and runs out. Community members can look for Bar Band tomorrow evening around 7:30 p.m.
And on the football home game approaches this weekend, and to one player, this means more than just a win. We talk with Brandon Cooks about why this game is so important to him.
This weekend's football game marks senior night for the Beavers as they take on the University of Washington Huskies. We went out to practice on Wednesday and spoke with junior wide receiver Brandon Cooks to ask him his goals of Saturday's game.
We got to go get this win. You know, we're still trying to get to the best bowl game we can, and we're going to take that week by week, and so this week is the Dogs.
Cooks explains the special rivalry that players face in this upcoming game.
Yeah, they're nasty. They are. I don't know. It's something about that game. Besides Oregon, that's probably one of our nastier games. Just because we know a lot of the guys, but the way they play and the way we play, it gets it gets really emotional.
Cooks also explains the obstacles the team will face against University of Washington.
Yeah, they're a great secondary. They got a great jam. They're smart. They're at the right place at the right time, and they got a lot of athletes. So I'm looking forward to the challenge.
But besides just for the records, senior night provides a special motivation for Cooks to help bring in the win.
Oh yeah, they've done a tremendous job since I've been here, and that's another thing that you add on to this game is the motivation to send your seniors out right on a good note. And you got a lot of guys that I'm really close with, especially like Rashad and Kevin Cummins. I definitely want those guys getting their last game at Risa to be a win.
This is Holly Clausen with the Beaver News.
It's playoffs week in the Intramural Bowling League. For one group, their efforts have miraculously led them into the final round of this competition. The Beaver News went out to the bowling alley to catch up with these bowling underground underdogs.
The end of the term brings playoff season for intramural sports.
What's going on here today is the intramural sports bowling playoffs, and this is week 5, so they're just now starting. It's the second round.
These underground underdogs are a true Cinderella story.
We started off the season with a huge loss, got swept, and then we came back, won our next 2 games in a row, which is huge for us. We had never won 2 games in a row in the history of this team. That's going like 3 seasons. And then our 3rd game, which we all really thought we were going to win, it got canceled because the machines broke. So we lost that. And then we were on the verge. They told me at the management meeting we were a bubble team, that we almost didn't make it, but now we're here, second round of the playoffs.
Playoffs continue throughout the week as For Who the Bell Bulls try at their chance to be crowned champion. This is Holly Clausen with the Beaver News.
How do you find your news around campus? Do you know all the different ways to find out about events happening here at our university? If so, how do you find them? We're asking students about just that in our Thursday night segment of Questions in the Quad.
My first stop as far as news goes on campus is definitely the Barometer. I read it every day.
I think making it a digital print, media, and audio would really create a certain amount of legitimacy that we're missing. I think all 3 entities separate is great, but when you do something like a tablet or an iBook and you have your article and then you can press it and see video and then you can also hear audio, that just creates a certain amount of action to it.
I typically find my news on my phone. I have a couple apps that I use. One's called Flipboard, and basically it's just kind of a source from multiple like newspapers and news websites, and I just kind of flip around and find whatever I think looks interesting, either local or from around the world, and go from there.
I get most of my news actually from social media, such as Facebook or Twitter. I see a lot of events being shared, friends going to different events on there. And I also check the Daily Barometer a little bit too.
I would encourage those outlets to have a stronger social media presence on campus, because I feel like a lot of people are getting their news that way these days.
The time we have for you tonight. I'm Emily Mowry.
And I'm Nathan Hellman. We're glad you could join us. For more of your Beaver news, make sure to watch us on YouTube.